NBC Sports and the PGA Tour proudly present On the Range, live at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. It's a cloudy day on the Monterey Peninsula. You can't get too high above, but the looks are always spectacular. The Pebble Beach Golf Links, 2 courses this year in the rotation. We're looking up towards Spyglass Hill. And the views any time of year are spectacular. Alongside tour veterans Craig Perks, Steve Scott, and Mark Carnevale, I'm Brian Katrek, and we're glad to have you with us as we watch the best players in the world get their games ready for this second signature event of the 2023 season. Here's the defending champion, Justin Rose. He's got his contraptions out there. This is what the world's best look like when they are getting ready for a tournament like this. Craig Perks, you know all about this story as we look in on Rose. What a win it was for him last year.
Yeah, it came 4 years after his previous win in his first win in his 40s. I know all about these contraptions. You're always searching for something, especially early in the week. And, you know, Justin spent a lot of his career with Sean Foley, spent the last couple of years with Mark Blackburn. And I think what Justin Rose wants to do is that he likes to know the hows and the whys of the golf swing. And used a lot of metrics and technology. He's got some alignment aids there, and he's certainly using all the technology to his advantage, Brian.
And our TrackMan tracing technology is provided by TrackMan. There it is. We've got some gizmos as well here, Steve Scott, and it's an important part of these guys' games.
Yeah, definitely great technology that we get to see here and get to showcase to everybody watching. I mean, you get to see all the carry, the curvature of this golf ball. We got a hard wind from left to right here on this beautiful practice range at Pebble Beach, and so these players are trying to navigate through all of that as they work on their games. Get the apex of the golf ball, all these things. They're trying to dial all these things in. It's like being a great NASCAR team. You're trying to get all of those parts together before you dial it in when Championship Thursday starts.
You've just made a fan of Brian Katrek, who's a huge NASCAR guy. Listen, he's 40, I mentioned 43 years old. He's not changing the DNA or the blueprint. I think going from Foley to Mark Blackburn, he hasn't changed the pattern necessary, just reintroduced some things that have worked well in the past. And I think that is key for people looking to improve. Don't change the thumbprint, don't change the blueprint, just get the foundation of the golf swing and try and improve some of the weaknesses.
He's always been a great ball striker, the ultimate tactician, really, a very technical player. But his results have really shown through. I mean, last year, 17th in strokes gained approach, 14th in strokes gained total. I mean, his game is really on point, and you know, this will be a great opportunity for him to defend the title, albeit in a different arena, different field size than last year, but same sort of vibes on the Monterey Peninsula for Justin Rose.
And think, Steve, of where he's won. Won at Muirfield Village, he's won at Marion, Aronimink, Congressional, just keep on going down those Colonial, Torrey Pines, and Pebble Beach. So, you know, he's also won on 6 continents around the world, so certainly his game travels very nicely.
Always interesting to see the routine. How does it differ here on a
Was that
Wednesday?
Aim Point Express on the range hitting a shot?
Not seen that before?
No, I have not either.
Yeah, there's so much wind. He's trying to figure out kind of a neutral release through the golf ball, really, and trying to feel, okay, how much do I need to turn it into the wind to hold it? What does a straight ball feel like, and how much is it actually curving? And we can see all of that with our side slab here. You can see how much curvature. That ball only had 3 feet of curve on it, so that was a pretty stout golf shot hit out of the center of the face with this amount of wind, 15, 20 miles an hour out of the south, which is left to right for these players today.
Yes, I think great shot makers normally are going to try and turn shots up against the wind to neutralize that wind, and that's certainly what Justin's working on the range.
Always good to get a moment of the defending champion's time, as he is putting together not only the the swing tweaks, the last-minute swing tweaks, but any last-minute equipment tweaks you might have for a gentleman who won here a year ago. It was a poor weather week, and a guy that understands exactly how to get it done when the weather is not at its best. Sure didn't look glorious on Sunday, though. Justin Rose on the 6th.
This is a heck of a golf shot up a mountain here at the 6th hole. You can't understand unless you've stood there, right there. You don't know how good a shot that is.
And of course, the tournament last year looked really bad on Sunday. It looked much better here on Monday. A lot of bend to this putt at the 11th. Justin Rose measured it perfectly.
Some of the tiniest greens on the PGA Tour. Devious, really, certainly with the Pro-Am.
And then over at the 13th, curls that one in, trying to hold off Brendan Todd and Brandon Wu right in front of the 14th.
This is actually a legitimate par 5. The 14th, this is his third shot. It's very, very difficult. Only 1 or 2 players in the world can get home in 2 at 14.
And a tiny little target. And all the way to the par 5 18th, Justin Rose knocks that one in. Winds up winning by 3 shots. It was comfortable. And Justin Rose spoke with Mark Carnevale.
Well, Justin, you come back as a defending champion, but a little bit of a different tournament this year with being a signature event, only 2 courses. How's your preparation been for this week?
It's been kind of a little bit low-key, low profile. I kind of feel like beginning of the week, the weather's been so good. I'm like, well, let's not fall in love with this great weather. I think this week's going to be a bit of a challenge. Obviously, there's a bunch of rain coming in today. Tomorrow's going to be a bit sloppy. So yeah, like I haven't sort of, conditions-wise, I'm kind of like knowing we're only going to know what to expect as of tomorrow, I think. So like I said, I haven't fallen in love with the golf courses as they've been playing, but just kind of getting some energy in the tank and taking care of the body and all that type of stuff. But yeah, ready for whatever the weather's going to throw at us this next 4 days.
I know you're working real hard. Anything particular you're working on this morning?
Well, no, just curious to hit. So obviously you're sheltered by these trees, but as soon as the ball's flying out there, obviously the wind is having a huge effect on it. So I was just kind of playing with, with the quad there and the TrackMan, just seeing what a neutral flight is and just trying to have an understanding of how much the wind is actually moving it, because it's a hard way to play, because on the golf course, your intuition comes in so much. You think you're letting the wind do the work, but you're actually hooking it into the wind. So it was just kind of fun just to see like what a neutral flight was doing and see how we can apply that on the golf course.
I know you got to get to the tee. Thanks for your time. Good luck this week.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
The defending champion, Justin Rose, joins a nice, illustrious list. He talked about the weather challenges last year. Looks like we're going to get some more of those this year. It was a putter change. And then lots of great golf for Tom Hoge. And this is a great list to be on. So we welcome you inside of our studios where it is warmer and drier than out on the golf course there at Pebble Beach. That's Steve Scott, Craig Perks. You just saw Mark Carnevale. You guys have both played in a number of these. Craig, the weather is just one of the challenges you get at Pebble Beach.
Well, it's going to be tempestuous. They've got an atmospheric river coming along, and to be honest with you, they're looking at winds in the 40-plus mile-an-hour gusts throughout the week, and some rain, some cooler temperatures. So throw that into the mix here. Listen, this is a historic, long-standing event. Love coming to Pebble Beach. It's so picturesque, but I think the weather is going to be the main topic this week, and it's going to be chaotic. It's going to be a fun watch for us. I'm not sure about for the guys playing.
Yeah, Steve, it's a lot of work for the players. Now, we've eliminated some of that work. You used to have 3 courses in the rotation. We've only got 2. We've got amateurs for 2 days rather than 3. You've been through this. What are some of the other factors here at Pebble Beach?
Well, some of the other factors, I mean, you think about the size of these greens out here. The smallest greens on the PGA Tour, 3,500 square feet on average at Pebble Beach. Spyglass a little bit bigger, but the golf course is a little bit more brawny over there. So I think the players playing at Pebble Beach with all these crazy winds out here, with these small greens, they're going to have their short games on point. And I think that's why you see a guy like Jordan Spieth or players like that who have a really solid short game. They're going to be rising to the top here this week, I think.
If everybody misses a lot of greens, then the guy that misses a lot of greens the best?
Well, Jason Day, Jordan Spieth, they're the 2 princes of Pebble Beach, wouldn't you say?
That sounds perfect. This is the second of 8 signature events this season on the PGA Tour, Chris Kirk. We'll talk a lot about him as we continue here today. Seemingly came out of nowhere to win. Who's going to do that this week? We've got another one coming up here a few weeks from now, just down the coast in Los Angeles at the Genesis Invitational. And that is the rest of the schedule for the signature events here this season on the PGA Tour. Touched on some of these changes for this AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Down to just 80 players. You needed enough professionals to have amateurs on all 3 courses. Now you only have amateurs on the golf course for the first 2 rounds. 2 courses in the rotation, Spyglass Hill, and of course the host course, Pebble Beach. And we're just on pros only and Pebble Beach only on the weekend. Craig, that seems to make things a lot simpler for your planning. Remember, we would have fog delays on one of the courses and we couldn't play at any of them.
Yeah, I like it. It's leaner, it's stronger. The story is now going to be the competition. And I think to have these guys play Saturday and Sunday, hopefully, at Pebble, and again, please, we love the amateur part of Pro-Ams on the PGA Tour, but just the professionals on the stage on the weekend, it's going to be sensational. Just hopefully the weather lets us play.
Just something else to worry about, Steve, if we're so compelled.
If we're so compelled, we'll have to see what all boils down to this week. The amateurs, they're going to have a lot of fun, though. A couple rounds under their belt with the best players in the world. What's better than that?
We are certainly not downplaying the amateur game. Just remember, a couple of weeks ago, we had an amateur winner on the PGA Tour. He played his way into this field. Nick Dunlap, the newest superstar in the game. He was a sophomore at Alabama just a couple weeks ago, and now he's in a signature event. We'll continue to see who's out there on the range. Stay with us. Jordan Spieth is a former #1 player in the world. He's a FedEx Cup champion, but he's also the 2017 champion of this AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. He will start off on the other course, Spyglass Hill, over on the 10th tee. Jordan Spieth has played here many times, but there are a lot of big names making their debut. 12 players making their tournament debut here this week, the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, including world #1 Scotty Scheffler. How about Viktor Hovland, who has won here, won the U.S. Amateur here, reigning FedEx Cup champion, playing his third appearance at this particular event. It is a stop along professional golf that you are going to make one way or another. Rory McIlroy playing here just for the second time. Same for Justin Thomas and for JT. First time since 2014. Sometimes it fits. This week it fits for all of these guys, and it fits for Mark Carnevale as well. We're glad to have him out there on the range. Carney, this is a special spot this week. We're glad to have you.
It really is, Brian, and it's, you know, I was fortunate. I played here a number of times, and I played with Dr. J one year, Oral Hershiser, Tony George, the George family that owns Indianapolis Speedway, and Tommy Smothers. We don't need to talk about that one that much, but it's an experience. It's an opportunity for these guys, obviously, to meet people they may not otherwise know, create some business relationships, create friendships as well. But it's going to be a little different this year. As you mentioned, it's only 80 players in the field. That means there's only 80 amateurs. So normally it's a bigger field than that. Certainly some of the amateurs that have been here over the years may not be here this year. But it is a great event because it'll support the Monterey Peninsula Foundation, which will generate money for this area. I think as a signature event, we're seeing those players that may not have had this event on their schedule. And it's going to be pretty cool. Today, with the high winds and the weather, they didn't allow spectators on the golf course. My understanding is they will allow them tomorrow. Tickets for today can be used tomorrow. They can actually get refunded on tickets today. But it's a great event. We look forward to it. And certainly there are going to be plenty of stories.
Oh, there certainly are, Mark. Thank you so much. One of those stories is, how did you get in? The first signature event of the season was the Century, and that field was entered last year. So here's how you're getting in there. This is the first one we've got a chance for guys to have played in. Top 50 in the final FedEx Cup standings are in. That was a big story through the FedEx Cup playoffs. You also have the next 10 that wouldn't have gotten in based on the standings, and then the Aeon Swing 5, those that have a chance to play their way in between signature events. Top 30 in the world will get in. Top finisher in last year's Race to Dubai in as well. We've got a stretch here of events between this one and the next signature event. Kind of resets the field. We got a chance to put more players in. Jordan Spieth is not in that mix. He is already in the signature events, all of them, and there he is out on the range.
Definitely a venue that Jordan Spieth loves to come back to time and time again. Certainly got a close partnership with the sponsor of this event, but loves this golf course and this tournament very much. 3 top 10s in his last 5 starts here. We know he had a victory here as well. So Jordan Spieth really likes playing golf around these parts and putts these greens particularly well compared to his counterparts on the PGA Tour, which is super important. These Seaside POA greens, they can definitely get a little bumpy. We saw it last week at the Farmers Insurance Open as well down in Torrey Pines. So this type of grass, certain players putt very well out here on the West Coast and certain players don't. And Jordan Spieth is definitely one of those who shines out here.
Yeah, I think the consistency win the second, you know, 4 top 4s. I think more than anything, if you look at the shot distributions around Pebble Beach, most players are hitting the ball in the same spot off the tee. These greens, as you mentioned, are some of the tiniest on tour. So now it becomes an approach game to these really small targets. And if you're overly aggressive, you're going to short side yourself. Who's the best in the world at getting the ball up and down from short side himself? This guy right here. So I think with the short game or the approach game improving, and the short game is absolutely world class. I think that's why he's played so well here. Now, it also goes, it's great to come back to venues you've had success on, you know, the win in 2017 and the runner-up a couple of years ago. But I just think he's willing to hit some shots, and he's not afraid to miss it in the wrong spot. And I think that gives you so much confidence to play well around here.
And furthermore, it's that missing the greens out here. We talked about that in the outset, but his short game, he's so magical, he's so inventive around the greens that he knows where he can miss it out here. I think that's a crucial element of playing Pebble Beach well. These greens have a lot of pitch to them, and if you miss the greens in the wrong spots, his yardage book has got to be full of lots of X's and lots of check marks, where you can miss it, where you cannot miss it around the greens, to make sure you leave yourself the most advantageous chip if you have to, or a bunker shot maybe. But if you miss some of these greens, like the 11th green, very severely pitched and a very tiny kidney-shaped green, I mean, you can just get in spots out here you can't make par from.
Yeah, you look last year, green regulation around Pebble Beach, 66% is what the field hit. That's middle of the pack on really throughout the season. But they were the 10th most difficult greens to get the ball up and down with. And so I think that plays into Jordan's hand. Now, you talked about this wind howling from left to right. This ball is curving a lot. And I know that we saw Justin Rose trying to hit some shots, neutralize it into that left to right wind. Jordan, it looks like he's cutting it with the wind, and maybe just getting a gauge of how much that ball's actually going to move crosswind.
I thought it was interesting, Justin Rose mentioning the sheltering just to the south here, just to Jordan's left. This is the old polo fields on the ground. They've reworked the property over the years. This used to be dead flat. I don't remember those trees being over there, but that's a little disconcerting if you don't feel it and all of a sudden your ball drops hard to the right like that.
Yeah, so there's 150 feet of curve. So effectively that's a 50-yard cut for a shot that's probably a 6-iron. Got Cameron McCormick back there, a long-time coach.
This was definitely a tough type of wind. The right-handed players don't love the strong left to right winds that much. I don't know about you, Perksy, but I never love practicing in these type of weather because I like to hit draws, and I hit push draws, and when they went out to the right, they kind of just sailed farther to the right. But if you think about what Jordan Spieth has done in the evolution of his golf swing, I mean, he's definitely had it laid off, 5 years ago when his swing kind of got down the wrong path, has gotten the club in a much, much, much better spot at the top. And you see greens in regulation stat this year, 83.3% through that one event that he played at the Century. Played great in Hawaii. But, this was a very difficult win for him before. When you get that club too laid off as a player, you have to save it way too much with your hands and your forearms, and that's an issue.
Again, what you'd like to see maybe as a coach, and maybe he's feeling good about the golf swing. We don't know what he's feeling, but with that ball curving that much or riding the wind a couple of times, turn one up against it so you can get the feel of the shaping the ball the other way. But
that would only probably be an 80-yard cut. There it was. Or the 80-foot cut. There was that. So that was the draw.
Yeah, there you go.
Very interesting this early in the season to look at those numbers. You mentioned one event for Jordan Spieth, and he's got over 80% of the greens hit because those are the largest greens on the PGA Tour up there at the Plantation course. These are the smallest. If somebody hits 80% of the greens this week, that person is going to win.
Yeah, you would think so, right? You should be knighted if you do such a thing around here.
I agree with you, Steve. The club is in a much better position. Not only did it used to be laid off, but it was shut. Now it's the left arm rides right through the shoulder. The shaft plane matches the left arm, and now it gives them more space to come down, get the club, return the club shaft back down on plane, and there doesn't have to be quite as much manipulation with the hands to square that face.
It's not exactly where he was back in 2014 and 15, though, when he had his great season, when he was #1 in strokes gained off the tee. He was 15th in that category, strokes gained approach that year. He was 11th. And one of the biggest things that year that he had his great year, he was #1 in rough proximity. So he missed it smaller than everybody else, right? And now last year, if you think about what happened last year, his game was not as sharp in that category. I mean, well into the hundreds in that category. And so he's just trying to recapture some of that magic. But wow, did he set the bar really high coming right out of the gate on the PGA Tour.
I think sometimes you spend a lot of time in the rough, you become more proficient at your rough proximity.
Mm-hmm. Practice makes perfect, and that's what we're doing here on the range.
I've always liked the activity with the lower body for Jordan. I think leg action is underrated. I mean, it really sets the downswing in motion. We see that left foot really get up onto the left side, you see a lot of the underneath of the shoe instead of, you know, the modern swinger per se is turning up against and bracing against that leg. Again, still a lot of curve. The shot's now gone over 210 yards and 45 yards of curve.
The amateurs in this field, and to a certain degree, the professionals in the field also, you spend all year waiting for your week at Pebble Beach. You never really remember that this weather can show up from time to time. It's not picture perfect. The old Crosby clambake weather is going to be a factor this week.
Just watch his left foot right there as it comes through the impact zone as we go through. Here's a good close-up right here, what we're talking about. Look at that left shoe right there. You're going to get all you need right here as far as what happens through impact. He really wears out the left side of his shoe, and this is one of Jordan's idiosyncrasies. I mean, his buddy Scotty Scheffler does a very similar thing, very happy feet going through, but that is a very unique left foot position right there. And the outside of your ankle has to be so mobile. As golf instructors, we talk about stability and mobility. His left ankle, I mean, I haven't tested all the PGA Tour players and their ankle mobility, but his has got to be the most and the strongest in that point, because that's something he does with all of his clubs going through the bag.
It's a great observation. You could actually see the left-hand side of that shoe there was dirty. Maybe hard to explain to the shoe guy back in the locker room. Did you have a fight? So the pre-tournament tuning for Jordan Spieth, former winner here. He knows what this is all about.
Love how he stays in motion as well. I mean, I think that's the best lesson for the amateurs out there who maybe get too stagnant over the golf ball. Being in motion really, really helps your golf swing.
This is how you can take in this golf tournament tomorrow. PGA Tour Live will start things off 11:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Right here on Golf Channel, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Not as much golf on Thursday as years past, with just 80 players, 2 courses, split tee times. Are we going to see vistas like this? Most likely. That's part of the story here at Pebble Beach. It is set to be a beautiful week. The iconic cypress tree. beautiful scenes of Stillwater Cove, Pebble Beach Golf Links, and what is probably the calm before the storm. We welcome you back here on the range. It's time for Going for the Green, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. And here to give us all the help we could possibly use, a man who is also enjoying what we're going to call sunshine for right now, senior golf writer for Golf Bet, it's Ben Everill. Ben, good afternoon. We're glad you're dry.
Thanks for having me, BK. Definitely the calm before the storm out here, but hopefully we can pick some winners for you this week.
You've done a great job always. Let's start right there. Who do you got? The winners have been hard to pick this season. Who do you have as an outright?
Well, one gentleman's been inside the top 11 the last 3 times he's come to the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and I'm going to stick with him this week. That's Patrick Cantlay. He's an absolute genius when it comes to wedge play, and let me tell you, there's going to be at least 25% of shots from inside 125 yards for those guys who are in contention this week. And Patrick Cantlay, well, he was second last season in birdies or better from inside 125 yards. Also, par 4 scoring. First or second in par 4 scoring for 9 of the last 10 winners out here. Patrick Cantlay last year, third on tour, par 4 scoring, 18-1 around that for DraftKings. I think that's a pretty good odds there, BK.
I like where your head's at. He's also really good in bad weather. We're going to get plenty of that. Let's talk about top 10s. This seems like it's a broader spectrum. Who are we looking at?
I'm going to go with a little bit of a fly here. He's a mate of mine, an Aussie, Australian Jason Day. You can get plus 400 for him to be in the top 10. And guess what? He's done it 8 times here before, so why not make it 9? He's stinging from last week at Torrey Pines where he missed the cut. He was a 2-time champion there. He also plays well here at Pebble Beach. And when I mentioned that stat, wedges inside 125 yards, well, this season he's got those dialed in, and he knows he's going to need to keep that going this week. He's primed and ready.
I like that call. All right, it gets a little bit more mean-spirited when we talk about head-to-head matchups, but I know you can handle it. What do you like?
Well, last night when the tee times came in, mate, one really piqued my interest, and that was Rory McIlroy coming back from his sensational play there back in Dubai against Ludwig Aubert, the young superstar. The European Ryder Cup teammates are playing together, and the underdog, Aubert, he's plus 130 to take down Rory over there at Spyglass Hill. I think he can do it. Why? Because, again, we want to talk the winners here in the past. They've been brilliant in greens and regulation and great in proximity. The smaller greens here are definitely in play, and the weather's in play. Ludwig Aubert, third and second in those stats over the tour season last year. I think he can maybe spring an upset over Big Rory.
The numbers do occasionally lie, but not necessarily in that case. And by the way, this has been a great season for the numbers lying. As we start to look at long shots, all 4 of the winners this season have been from way down on the board. Look at Chris Kirk, Grayson Murray getting things kicked off. Nick Dunlap wasn't even a professional. You know the great story of Matthew Pavone from last week. Can we keep this going? Ben Everill, do you have a long shot for us this week?
Yeah, how good is golf, mate? Well, where you can get these long shot winners actually get up and get in the winner's circle. You're looking at the Super Bowl, you want a 400-1 shot to win. You need the long snapper to be MVP. That's not going to happen. That's like a donation. But here at golf, you can definitely get winners in the long shot area of the board. Triple digits? Well, why not Maverick McNeely, the California kid who's been second here before, here on the sponsor's invite? I'm sure he wants to prove himself amongst these 80 really good professionals out here. Maverick McNeely for me, 150-1. Maybe you can keep the roll going.
Oh, that is well done. Ben Everill, great research, great stuff, my man. Thank you so much.
No problem. Anytime, BK.
Ben Everill from Golf Bet. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the PGA Tour, and this week new customers can bet $5 and pocket $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the app and use promo code RANGE when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. It was another unforgettable moment right here back in 2000. Tiger Woods on the 15th with a pitching wedge.
This was from 97 yards. This is how much he took off to try and control his spin. You know, he was 7 shots behind Matt Gogol with 7th play. And he nearly holed the shot on the very next hole, clipped the flagstick, came back and won. But the good thing is that Matt Gogol won the very next year.
Matt had the lead. He has bounced back. Saw Jerry Yang there with the high five. Jerry's playing with Webb Simpson this year, so he's back in as an amateur. Now here's Jason Day over on the range. The new look Jason Day. Clean shaven, Steve, and it looks like he's 10 years younger.
Yeah, a little more baggy apparel, but much has been said about that on social media. But still a great golf game and great golf swing underneath that apparel right there, and all the wonderful work that he has done with Chris Como biomechanically, really to change his golf swing to take that pressure off of his back. And he's looking at all these things, all the technology from, you can just see some things on his phone and some of his motions that he's making there.
The first year of work with Chris was all about restructuring the body to be able to handle the golf swing, and he was always so steep. He had a lot of restriction in the hip, so he freed up the hip turn, get the club coming from a little shallower par, take a little stress off the lower back, and I think you have to be obsessive about, especially when you make a change. Listen, he was with Cole Swatton for the majority of his life, and to make that significant a change, Jason said, I'm up at midnight, lying awake, thinking of feels, calling Chris Como. So really that obsession to get back to where he was. You think of where he started, he'd sort of fallen down a long way. It was 165th in the world to begin last season, finished the season 19th in the world. It was great to see him back in the winner's circle, but he knows what it takes to get to the very peak, the summit. He's been #1 player in the world for more than 50 weeks, and he's willing to put that work in to get back there.
Look at Jason remarking the same thing we heard from Justin Rose, same thing we saw Jordan Spieth. Yeah, how is that happening?
And you see the shot there was only going 140 yards. It was only hitting a 9-iron, most likely. But he's like, how is it curving that much in such a short distance?
Wait till I get out to those exposed areas on the golf course.
Yeah, when you get to the 7th hole at Pebble, for example.
8, 9, 10.
Yes. People hit 6 irons on that par 3 that you could hit a lob wedge to with no wind. All these things that they try to dial in, and I like what he's doing, picking a different target here. I think that's a great thing to do when you're practicing on the practice tee. Obviously, the lie doesn't change here. It's a dead flat lie out of the fairway. So how do we change our mind and focus, get the randomness into the practice? And there's lots of beautiful targets here on the practice range here at Pebble. So, and you got some greens with bunkers out there. A lot of good visuals that these players can do. And now he's going to change this target up a little bit, and you're going to get to see a little bit better down the line view here. But just a beautiful, repeatable motion that should come into play really well this week. We should see him towards the top of the leaderboard, you would think.
Also out there, the reigning FedEx Cup champion, Viktor Hovland. And who was playing better golf at the end of last season than this guy?
It was a torrid end to the season, wasn't it? And it was.
Spieth over there too.
Back here. So I'm gonna.
I hope we got plenty of him this morning.
Yeah.
Good thing, right? I would hope.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
Hey.
Well, it's, yeah,
do an interview. I'll come down. Yeah, if you had the
Just talking about his forearm rotation there and how his wrist positions influence the forearm rotation or lack thereof. He's very much of a closed swing player on the backswing and then rotary on the follow-through.
The question is, do I want to go freelance or do you want to go Mayweather?
I also think he's talking about how the shoulder tilt is affecting whether his left wrist gets shut or bowed very quickly, feeling maybe wanting to feel some of that forearm rotation, get the face not quite as closed, but the rotation through the ball you mentioned is impeccable, and it's held him in such high standard. You think of all the great strikers, the shut face, and they rotate really hard. There's no manipulation of the face.
And what's pretty amazing in this age of YouTube, I mean, one of the first golfers really to tell the world. I mean, he learned the golf swing on YouTube back in Norway, back in the cold, dark winters of Norway.
It's internally rotated, and then when I run out of room, it's just going to lift straight up. Then I get here, and then I get the backswing. Yeah, exactly. And I can get the short one behind me now. It's real life fix. Yes, yeah. And then I run out of room and just lift straight up. Yeah.
New man in the camp this year, Joe Mayo, certainly rectified the chipping issues, no longer part of the team.
It's Wednesday. This is a full-on lesson going on right now.
This guy
Maybe. It could be.
really believes that if I can just make these subtle improvements each day,
That way.
what that will equate to over time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not there.
No, I still, like, if I want to, I can aggravate this, you know, but it's not being aggravated through hit balls. But yes, it is weird how it just suddenly, that's it. Maybe.
Maybe trying to work around a little bit of a hurt there, a little bit of a tenderness in that right wrist.
I also think if he talks about that right arm stands straight and then it lifts up, then he does have a tendency for the arms to shift out or the hands to shift out on the downswing. He's going to get steeper. That's going to put more stress on the wrist. You're going to have a sharper angle of attack, getting the ground much more than you would be if you were a little shallower. What he does great when he's at his best is that there is a little movement out with the hands, but the club actually flattens. And I think maybe what he's struggling with a little bit now with the motion with his hands and his forearms and the way that his elbow is moving is the club's not flattening enough.
So you see Hovland out there. You saw Jason Day out there a moment ago on the other side of the range. Jason Day standing by with Mark Carnevale.
Well, Jason, obviously you come back to a place you've had a lot of success at. Different situation this year with the signature event and maybe different weather conditions. Your preparation so far this week?
I played 18 holes at Pebble Monday and 18 holes at Spieth. Obviously, we typically play 3 golf courses this week, but with the signature event and the limited field, they've cut it down to 2. So, yeah, I mean, it's the golf courses, they look tremendous. I mean, obviously, the signature events, they step up obviously everything, and everything's looking great. I'm just a little weary of the weather this week. I mean, obviously Pebble can be great some years, and then the weather can turn the next year, and you're like, oh, you know, I don't know why I'm, you know, playing in this stuff. But you know, this has been a stop for me for a very long time, so I'm happy to be here.
With the conditions projected as they are, and we know you never can guarantee that one way or another, how do you prepare going into this event?
Yeah, I mean, so I wasn't pleased with how I played last week. Obviously, I missed a cut, so I think I got a little bit too technical with my golf swing, and then, you know, the first 2 days of this week, I'm still a little bit technical. So today, the winds they feel like they're at least 25 to 30 mile an hour cross breeze on the range here. So I'm just trying to get out there and hit some shots and try and like just move shots around, just try and find some creativity. Because sometimes we do get a little bit too technical as golfers, and that's my main concern, is just to try and for the week is just to try and find some creativity back in my shots, because obviously we're going to have a lot of wind and a lot of rain and all that stuff. So if I can just find a little bit of that and focus on hitting actual golf shots and finding an end target, get my awareness and everything at the target instead of like right here, then that's kind of like the main goal preparing wise for this week.
You've always been very diligent with your workout routine. It looked like you've dropped some pounds. Is that the case?
I would love to say I dropped pounds, but I just wear baggier clothes, as I said before. So, I feel like these days with how young everyone is, they're like tall, they're big, they're strong. I'm getting older, so I've got to make sure that I stay on top of my health and everything like that. And I feel good about my body and where it's at. I just would like to kind of get a little bit stronger, kind of hold the connections between what I've been doing, really good, really well, away from the golf course, and then, just keep working on it, and hopefully that yields into good play.
By no means are you old. Thanks for your time. Play well this week.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Words to live by there from Jason Day. Baggier clothes. It's a game of adjustments. We'll look back in on Viktor Hovland here.
Well, he's got to be excited really to make this first start of the calendar year at a place that he loves playing. Obviously great memories here, winning the U.S. Amateur back in August of 2018, where he had the record in the U.S. Amateur for the fewest number of match play holes played. I don't think he trailed a hole the whole entire week. It was a super dominant performance, and then went on to play the U.S. Open, was the low amateur, finished 12th here, and set another record for an amateur there, and promptly turned pro after that. But when you come back to a place where you've had great vibes, you just can't help but think about, you picture yourself winning, and you picture yourself playing very well and contending. And you can certainly see that will be the case here with Viktor this week.
Yeah, and I think the mindset's changed after winning the FedEx Cup. He now believes he is the best player in the world, and he's certainly played that way since the playoffs started. And I think what was impressive, that run through the FedEx Cup playoffs where he won the BMW and then won the Tour Championship. He went overseas and finished 5th at Wentworth, 2nd at the DP World, and continued to play well down there, top 10 at Bahamas. So he didn't rest on what I've just accomplished and that 18 million bonus and everything else. And I just am so impressed with the work ethic, and everyone works hard, but I just think the mentality, he plays intelligently, he plays strategically, and the execution is sensational.
Some of this weather that he's seeing right now, this is, he resides in Stillwater, Oklahoma, where he went to college there for a few years. This is very Stillwater, Oklahoma-like right now. Heavy winds, chilly weather, got to wear the pullovers and extra outerwear. So this is going to be a very comfortable situation, I think, for Viktor Hovland, too.
We've got more of these tools here. Our TrackMan technology showing the shot dispersion here for Viktor Hovland, and with all that wind, that's pretty good.
I love all the ideal lines and all the shot dispersions that you can see with the technology. I mean, the launch monitors, like a TrackMan, are so amazing and trying to help you understand exactly what your game is doing in all your patterns.
Hovland among the 38 players that played here in the U.S. Open back in 2019. The wind is part of the story, and so is the beauty of the Pacific Ocean. We're on the range at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. so glad to have you with us as we kick off this week at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am on the range. The look down to the southwest. You could just sit and stare no matter which direction you look. The greatest meeting, the most felicitous meeting of land and sea and creation. The words of Robert Louis Stevenson, who was inspired in his writings right here on the property.
Gets a little cold on that point there behind 17 green there, Brian. You'd need a little more than what you're wearing right now.
That's a very good point. This man would know it.
Yep.
Max Homa, West Coaster. He's got 3 wins out here on the West Coast. No, make that 4 wins out here on the West Coast. Not one here, and he's got a contraption, Steve.
I love this one. This is all about connection, getting the arms and the body to rotate at the same rate. You see, there's really no hand action in this golf swing. He's not trying to add a lot of speed with his hands. If you think about the golf swing, there's really 3 main speed components to it. There's the rotary component of the body, there's the arm swing around the body, and then there's the hand action. And what he's doing, he's just kind of limiting the hand action, keeping that at bay, and allowing the arms and the body to rotate beautifully. He gets the club beautifully on plane. All the work that he's done with Mark Blackburn on his swing to really become an all-around player. I mean, he is just, you see him dialing in that connection, that club exiting to the left more. Just kind of matches up the backswing and the through swing beautifully.
Steve, there are guys on tour going to Mark Blackburn because of the way Max Homa swings a golf club.
Oh, no doubt.
Max is basically the blueprint. And the club is in a perfect position. You mentioned it. It exits ideally. There's no manipulation of the face, and it can withstand the most intensive pressure. We saw that at the President's Cup when he played so well. We've seen that when he's won a couple of times at Quail Hollow, Riviera, Torrey Pines. Very, very difficult golf courses, and that really is what people are looking for, is something that works under the most intense of pressure.
And what he's doing right here is a great motion, and great for all the viewers at home watching. It's understanding when you are under those extreme pressures, the bigger muscles of your body are going to be more reliable. You'll see a lot of handsy type players, some on tour, but not a ton of them. But once you get under the most extreme pressure, and you know, as a player's champion, you know all about the most extreme pressure, Craig, and you have to use the big muscles. Those small muscles aren't quite as reliable.
And I think it starts with the foundation and the fundamentals. If once we get back to Max's setup, his lines are impeccable. You know, the spine angle, the knee flex, the forearms, and how everything is just perfectly, it's very athletic, and there has to be, if you get into a sloppy setup, then you have to make manipulations. When you get into a very athletic, technically sound setup, as Max Homa does, then you can have that flow and that freedom to go ahead and just swing the golf club.
I think this is a big reason, all these drills that he does to really focus on the arms and the body. I mean, you think of last year, his approach game from 100 to 150 yards, he was in the top 10 on the PGA Tour there, so you're not going to do that with a lot of flippy hand action.
Going to be a lot of fun watching Max. We mentioned that there are still amateurs in this field. There are also still celebrity amateurs in this field. Mark Carnevale standing by with a past champion, Larry Fitzgerald.
Well, Larry, you've been here before. You actually won. You partnered with Kevin Streelman to win here. You're back this year, but under different situations. Only 80 amateurs playing this week, but it's still the same, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, it's still competition, still great. Still lots of money being raised for Monterey Bay Peninsula here. And, you know, I think that's what we're all here, you know, to compete, have great fellowship, and raise money for wonderful causes.
Obviously, you're trying to perfect the golf game is out there. You know, you play a lot. You play a lot of these events around. As you come into this week, anything that you've been working on that you're going to show the public this week?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I just love the game. I love to come out here and compete. You know, I'm never going to be, you know, one of the the best players to ever swing a club. But, you know, to be able to come out here and get inside the ropes and compete, I think that's amazing. You know, there's no other sport that you really get a chance to do that. And, you know, to be a part of the 80 people that have gotten an invitation, it's humbling.
We know your connection, obviously, with football and your career with the Phoenix Cardinals, or the Arizona Cardinals, excuse me. Football's been pretty interesting this year and pretty competitive.
It has. I mean, and then you get, you know, two great teams going to play in the Super Bowl next week. You know, greatest quarterback in a generation, you know, Patrick Mahomes going for his third Super Bowl. And, you know, to think as a starter has been to 6 AFC championship games, and, you know, and this is his 4th Super Bowl. I mean, it's just unprecedented, you know, since, you know, Tom Brady, you know, left the game. And so it's really good to see the game is in good hands, and, you know, see Brock Purdy, a guy who was you know, drafted the last pick in the NFL draft a year ago and performing at the level he's performing. And it's great. I think it's a wonderful matchup, and one that everybody that's a football fan would be excited to watch.
Yeah, it's a question I've always wanted to ask, and I think our viewers out there and people that follow, what is it about golf that attracts athletes from other sports to take it up and be a part of it?
Well, you know, you never can master it, right? It's a game that you might play well to, you know, shoot even par one day, but tomorrow that means nothing. You know, you got to start all over again, same golf course, same ball, same club, same conditions, and you can shoot a completely different score. And I think just the knowledge that you know that you can't, like, keep that, right? And you know that you got to work on it every single day and be passionate about getting better. I think that's kind of what motivates you. And also when guys get done playing, you know, you form a little bit of a sense of community that you missed. You know, if you were in the NHL or if you were in the Major League Baseball or NFL, like you get a chance to be around guys and create a community again. I think that's some of the reasons why people love it.
Well, we appreciate your time as always. Play well this week.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Larry Fitzgerald going to try to win this thing again. We go all the way back to 2011. D.A. Points, whose amateur partner was Bill Murray, the celebrity rotation, a huge part of this event. The hole out at 14. I don't know where Bill Murray was. Wait, we found him.
There's never been a chest bump that has been really successful, I don't think.
It doesn't matter if you're airborne or not, I suppose. And that team rode those shots, and for all the years that Bill Murray had played, he was finally starting to sniff it. Maybe this is going to be it, and it was. D.A. Points would win on the professional side, and his team would win the Pro-Am side. Among the other celebrities here this week, Pau Gasol, who's actually playing with Emiliano Grillo, but I guess Emiliano's a little bit taller.
Probably not more count. I think they're about the same height.
And by the way, sharp outfit for Larry Fitzgerald. The sweater going, the full collar, and now he's got the purple trousers with the matching Jordans. Well, he has certainly dressed for the part. He is bringing it here on the range. It's always a beautiful week at Pebble Beach. The wind, a big factor so far in the practice rounds, as we're glad to have you with us here on the range. Earlier today, Tony Finau posting this out at the 7th. This is only a 100-yard hole, and he's got the driver out.
13 club win, gotta love that.
Good thing you had the launch monitor out there to tell us.
Yeah, in competition, guys have it's been so blustery out at that point. Guys have actually sometimes putted it down the hill, but 4 and 5 irons to try and get in that front bunker. But Finau's got some of the best hands on tour. He can get that big old cut. Driver 172.
Probably didn't go 256, but it did wind up just short and right of the green. Tony Finau getting a little creative, and that's what you have to do into these conditions. It probably won't be a driver hole this week, but you never know. Here's Sahith Theegala, now PGA Tour winner.
See his longtime coach there, Rick Hunter. They've been paired together since Sahith was 7 years old, and I think what's really cool is when they first started to work together, Rick was saying that Theegala loved to be creative, hit draws, hit fades, and he's really got some great hands. And some of the great stories in college, he used to warm up and shank shots on purpose, scurrying balls across the range, and everyone's like, well, we don't have to worry about him. But Sahith ended up winning the Hogan and the Haskins Award at Pepperdine. But really, really, really good hands, and I think more so than anything, if he can, he's won. He won at Fortinet after missing the Tour Championship. He finished 31st. But if he can improve that driver, I think he's going to be a guy that's going to win multiple times. You see him sort of messing around right now doing stuff. It's cool to see the enthusiasm of these young guys instead of being just sort of robotic.
Yeah, he's always been very creative, and I think that was really the genius of Rick Hunter. You know, all those years not getting the creativity out of his game, and you have to have that fun and that childlike sort of view of your game as you get onto the PGA Tour. I think it's very easy to lose that in the whole world of the PGA Tour and get too technical and overdo it, as you see him hit this 50-degree wedge here, and you see him really position himself on the far right portion of the range as well, trying to hit more back into the wind. Again, it's that right-handed player doesn't love that left to right strong wind very much, so he's just working shots as much into the wind as he possibly can as well.
If he's going to hold his follow-through until it lands, he could hold it for a while. Look at this one.
He's just having fun out there. It's so good to see. You know, I think Jason Day was talking about that. The focus out there at the target, not down by your feet at the ball. I think that's when we get stalled and we begin to think too much and get mired in mechanics.
Now, you know, he wears that tape on his left wrist there. You can kind of see he's got the pullover there. But really, it was at this U.S. Amateur back in 2018 where he revealed that, you know, he had some issues with his wrist and shot 79, 78. He missed the cut in that U.S. Amateur and had surgery just a few months later. So, you know, you wonder if some of that stray driving, you talked about, Perksy, about how getting his driver better, 172nd in driving accuracy on the tour last season. And, you know, your wrist, when you create the speeds that these players do, and I think of a Cameron Champ in the same light, when you create the speeds that some of these players do, your wrist it helps generate and transfer a lot of that speed, but it also takes all the pounding. And so we'll see some of these players out here do that. And when you have a wrist issue, like we saw Viktor Hovland had some tape on his wrist too, it definitely concerns you a little bit because it's the smallest joint there in the body, really, that takes all that pounding.
Yeah, and I think he'd get bored hitting straight shots. So his ability to execute complicated shots is really what inspires someone like Theegala, keeps him motivated, interested.
This is so cool, by the way, to see him out there laughing and smiling and hitting goofy shots. Quite refreshing, the youthful exuberance of Sahith Theegala.
Watch him out, that amount of curve. Watch that number. go over 111 feet of curve on that particular shot.
Is that hard?
Well, when the driver face is that straight up and down, a lot of times you'll actually see players hit 3 woods or more lofted fairway woods. As we go into this kind of close-up, we watch his feet, and 2 most important connections in golf, your hands to the club and your feet to the ground. And we're going to see what his feet are going to do through the impact zone right here. Really nice and stable all the way down. That left foot moves a little bit, but you know, we saw Jordan Spieth a little earlier get way outside on that left foot. Sahith Theegala not as much.
And he's got this great competitive spirit. If you go back to Olympia Fields at the BMW, he birdied 15, 16, 17, and then bogeyed the 18th on Sunday to finish 31st in the FedEx Cup. What did he do for the next month? He wasn't, what did he do? He pounded balls, he worked on it. He didn't sit there and sort of bemoan the fact that he didn't make first start in the fall. Wins. Boom.
I had the whole family out there watching as well. So much fun to watch Sahith's dad leading the spirit section. And he is just laughing and smiling, hitting 130-yard fades out there. You know, it's a Pro-Am. It's not going to be the only guy in the field hitting 130-foot fades. We've got some star power. 80 players in this field. Rory McIlroy making his second appearance. Matt Fitzpatrick is here. You name it, it is happening this week at Pebble Beach. We're back on the range right after this. We are back on the range at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Beautiful look out to the Pacific Ocean. And it's time to get serious. It is time to let it fly. Brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. And here we go. We're going to get the whole team in on this. In studio with Steve and Craig. And there's Mark Carnevale out on the golf course. So let's get it going here. Carney, you can lead us off since you're outdoors. What do you got?
Well, whether you guys know it or not, I kind of like Jordan Spieth this week, but we're going to add someone else to it. We're going to add Ludwig Aubert to this, and we're going to do a top 5 parlay. It's 20 plus 2,800, but I'm really liking the Jordan Spieth side of this because he's played this time 11 events out of 44 rounds, only 6 rounds over par, 35 under par. I like that pick.
Okay, what do we like about that, guys? Were we okay with that one? Going to show him a little support?
Yeah, sure. We'll go for that. Sure. If it's his funds, sure.
All right. Well, Steve, you get to go next. What do you have for us?
Sure. I mean, I love the parlay of Viktor Hovland and Jordan Spieth, and it's a top 5. Excuse me, Viktor Hovland and Patrick Cantlay, top 5 finish parlay at plus 1,800. Really solid. Viktor Hovland, kind of like I said, he's got a great history here. 2018 U.S. Amateur champ, played very well here. 28 straight cuts to this point, a few worldwide wins. He's really solid. Patrick Cantlay, he is due. He's a California guy. If you think about his coach, Jamie Mulligan, just right down the coast in L.A., that's where he lives. Got to be working on his game an awful lot. I like both of these players right here to finish in the top 5.
Oh, and I like linking them together. That's where the dollar bills are. All right, Craig, what do you got for us?
Okay, I'm a little concerned because we've got some inside scoop. We just saw Viktor Hovland, a little tape on the wrist, grinding on the technique, maybe tweaked his wrist, but I'm still going with it. I'm still going to go that he's going to win by 3 shots or more. We're going to go plus $3,000. I just think, man, the way that he finished last season, he's coming here with so much momentum. I'm going to put aside the wrist tweak. He's also the favorite to be low continental European this week. You could take that bet as well at plus 180. So, yep, I'm just hoping that Viktor Hovland Carney is healthy to start tomorrow morning. I need my thoroughbred healthy to start.
Well, I hope you got that in before the number changes, because that little tape on his wrist, that's just precaution. There is no wrist injury for Viktor Hovland, so I'm thinking you're pretty good there.
Okay, love that. Well done. Mark Carnevale, thank you for that update. See, it's all about the little edge, and he's got it out there. Great picks, gentlemen. Well done, and we will be keeping track. We will see how you did.
Oh, yeah.
People do have long memories. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the PGA Tour, and this week new customers can bet $5 and pocket $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the app and use promo code RANGE when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Welcome back here on the range. There's Keegan Bradley, a winner in a resurgent season last year. Still at it, lost in a playoff just a couple of starts ago at the Sony Open, and now in a whole different set of conditions out here on the range at Pebble Beach.
Okay. Be careful by crossing my cable. Get too tangled.
Only played here one time, 2011. So I know that there's a reason why 80 of the best have showed up here, but interesting for a guy that's been out here nearly 15 years, just making his second venture out to the Monterey Peninsula.
You've never been here, right?
For a PGA Tour, I think.
You think of his golf swing, and
Friday, Saturday. It's not going to be warm, but it's got to get up. Yeah, you're right.
we take a look. You watch how low he carries his hands. I mean, very similar like a Tony Finau, kind of down almost close to his knees there. A lot of hip bend to set up to the golf ball, and kind of an early wrist set on the backswing, and then you watch as he comes down into the, well, when he decides to hit it, he'll get his right elbow. That's really the key, I think, to his golf swing right here. He gets his right elbow close to his body to help prevent the face from closing down a little too early.
I tell you what, he's always been a very efficient driver of the golf ball. Was very high in the total driving stats. Now, as he's gotten a little older, he's 37 years old, he was always a hard cutter of the golf ball. He's turned the ball now the other way to gain a little bit more distance, but still plenty long enough. And now with 6 wins on the PGA Tour.
Among the other things that could draw him back to the Monterey Peninsula, a short field with a huge purse, a ton of FedEx Cup points. He's played with Tom Brady. That'll do it.
Well, he's a huge Red Sox guy, obviously, and then to win, won Travelers. Boston sports fan.
He's a Patriots guy and a Red Sox guy.
Yeah, I think he's, you throw them all in there, Bruins as well, but, when he won Travelers last year, that was as good as, he's won a major championship. He's won a World Golf Championship, but to win there up in Hartford was certainly very special.
They're actually going to be playing with Keith Mitchell and Josh Allen the first 2 days also.
Let's go get a football out there. But as far as his golf swing goes, I mean, you look at those numbers on the side slab over there, ball speeds anywhere from 169 to 172 that we've seen. And keep in mind that the average ball speed on the PGA Tour is just a shade under 173. So right now he's kind of in that average number. But one thing that he does, which might hurt him in the wind, he's got some severe hang time on his driver. He's actually one of the highest rated hang time players. Hits it super high as we see that apex. Now that apex was coming down a little bit. That was just under 100 is that one, but the average apex on the tour, mind you, is 102 feet. So, but he can get it up there, 120, 130 foot apex. So, which could cause some problems, especially if you're playing in any crosswinds or into the wind. So, you got to be working on those apexes and really controlling ball flights here. And I think that's what he's trying to do. You see some of these apexes vary, and I think that's a really good thing to work.
Cool to watch Keegan Bradley prepare himself for this event. Gentleman that won here 2 years ago, Tom Hoge, is with Mark Carnevale.
Well, Tom, come back to a place that's pretty special for you, the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, but a little different this year, a signature event and only 2 courses. Has that affected your preparation at all?
A little bit, yeah. And it certainly, has more of a quiet feel to it this week with half the players here. So a little bit different atmosphere. Weather's throwing a curveball once again, but it's always great to be back here.
As you look back on your win here, what are you going to use from that this week?
I feel like it's a golf course that suits me well, and I've played well at in the past, and just a lot of familiar shots out here. So nothing real special, I would say, but just try and play more good golf and make a lot of birdies.
And with the forecast being kind of strange, obviously we don't know exactly what's going to go on. But with these signature events now, really as a member of the tour, it's got to make you feel pretty special to be a part of them.
Yeah, it's great to be here. They've got such a big feel to them now with more, FedEx Cup points, money, everything that comes with it. So, you've got to play well and got to earn your spot back here for next year because they're great events to be at. So a lot of pressure to get here and play well and get off to a good start.
Well, thanks for your time. Play well this week.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Well, Tom Hoge, one of 4 past champions in this field. Of this entire field of 80 players, 57 of them are PGA Tour winners. Take a look at this list. It's a nice trophy to be on.
And you notice that list is all wonderful ball strikers. I mean, the putting can get a little dicey around here, so you've got to have a player, like a Tom Hoge, like a Keegan Bradley, to really strike your golf ball well around these parts. See that golf ball curving well in excess of 100 feet, 147 feet on that particular one.
Okay, Keegan has seen everything he needs to see. That ball's still going. And this is how you got in this field, the second of 8 signature events for the season. Keegan among those who locked himself in at the end of last season by being in the top 50. In the final FedEx Cup standings, you go through this entire list, including 4 sponsor exemptions, which is always nice. Also, we have been given a note that there will be some special preparations here moving through Sunday. A lot of wind expected on Sunday, Craig, and in order to even think about playing the event, they're going to gradually slow the greens down at Pebble Beach as the week goes on. What do you think of that adjustment?
Yeah, I think it's smart. I think probably going to play preemptive preferred lies. That'll be the case. And then you're going to go with, you got 45-mile-an-hour gusts looking like on Sunday. So I think that's a smart move. And I just want to say that Jordan Spieth is not just a guy at Pebble Beach. And I look for him to win for the 2nd time here.
Okay, I like that. Steve, adjusting to the conditions. We've been talking about it all day. Now the field staff is having to do it as well. This is going to be a whale of a week. What do you think?
It sure is. And I think the players who have really the great off-speed wedge game, and I think that's why a guy like Tom Hoge, who we just saw right there, has won here, because he is such a wonderful wedge player. And we're going to find those guys like a Justin Thomas, like a Jordan Spieth. They're going to be towards the top of the leaderboard this week, no doubt.
Okay, we've got to deal with a lot of changing factors, Craig. There's a possibility Sunday could be wide open. We got 2 courses. Put it all in perspective for us.
Yeah, I just think guys really enjoy coming to Pebble Beach. And even though there's this atmospheric river coming from to just absolutely barrel down on the West Coast, guys really embrace these signature events. It's all about the competition. It's going to be a fascinating watch.
We saw a lot of things out there on the range here today. We saw a lesson being given. We saw adjustments being made. We saw trick shots getting hit, celebrities, the whole 9 yards. It was a great and informative day out on the range. Tomorrow it all gets started for real. AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, 2 courses, 80 players. There are still celebrities. Elevated FedEx Cup points, elevated purse. Seems like the views are as well. That bad weather we were talking about, it doesn't have to happen, and if it does, we celebrate that as well. It's all part of the Crosby Clan Bake. This will be the 83rd playing of the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Don't miss it. We appreciate you watching here on The Range.